All right, welcome in. It is time for Total Bases. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. We had one link going one place, another link going to another place, but we both need to be coming to you. So until we could get that squared away, we didn't want to start the show, but we've got it figured out. So we'll just go 4 minutes longer. No big deal. It's a Saturday. Everyone's just hanging out anyway. Someone said, is the show in a rain delay? No, but we might have a couple of games get weather today. I know they're playing baseball. They're going to try to play baseball here in Syracuse this afternoon, but it's already raining out. So we'll see about that. But there's going to be plenty to bet on today, plenty to talk about. Bryan, Leonard, I don't want to jinx it, but I keep getting these timely hits and extra innings. The Mets last night get it done in extras for me. I think that's like my third straight day with a walk-off or an extra innings win. But the reason I bring it up is last week I was talking about all of those going against me. It's such a long season, and you take them when you can get them. And when they go against you, you just remember that at some point you're probably going to get them. So 2-1 for me last night, 2-0 Major League Baseball. I got a 5%er tonight because, hey, if it's going to go my way right now, I might as well start firing the big one. So 5% MLB for today. How was your Friday? And what are you looking at today?
Yeah, we had the first 5 in the Cleveland game under is my only play in baseball. And I guess we were lucky to get there as they scored 4 runs in the first inning. We ended up pushing in that game. So, some bad defense. Go back and take a look at both starting pitchers. They only gave up 1 earned run in the game, and you would figure that would be a nice under. But, some bad defense in that game cost us. But other than that, hockey, I split. I had the Canadians and I had Anaheim. Anaheim was a no-show. And in basketball, I took a shot on Minnesota and didn't quite get there. So overall, I think I lost 1.5 units or something.
It's funny you bring that Guardians game up. You know, we talked about an under on the show that we liked yesterday. 5 runs in the first inning of Nationals Marlins, nothing the rest of the game. That was a crazy one. 5 runs off the bat that looked dead in the water, and then not a single run was scored in the game. So yeah, some crazy results on Friday. That's no different than any other day. Over the 162 game baseball season, you're always going to see something you haven't seen. Tonight, the country is going to see 2 different games on Fox in the national TV window. So I'll go to what I consider to be the better of the 2 games, the more higher profile matchup. Basically just off of like win-loss record at this point. And that's out in San Diego, where the Cardinals just continue to win games, continue to find a way. They're 23-15 now, Bryan. Aside from you, I don't think many had that on their bingo card this year. The Cardinals getting off to as good of a start as they've gotten off to. And even with some recent struggles, the Padres are still sitting there at 22-16. One of the bigger games on the slate today. Where are you going in this one, Cardinals-Padres?
Yeah, from the lines section on Odds Logic, let's look at May going for St. Louis, Vasquez going for San Diego. San Diego's about a 140 favorite at this point, total of 8. Dustin May, he's been a hard handicap for me this year. He's pitched well in games I didn't expect him to, and he's pitched lousy in games that I thought he had a good chance for a good outing. Overall, I think they're happy with him. He has had some struggles, but his advanced stats say he's pretty good, and so they continue to trot him out there in St. Louis. You take a look at that starting rotation coming into the season. In fact, the bullpen just the same way, and you say there's no way these guys are going to be competitive. Sometimes we have to give credit to the organizations. We have to give credit to the pitching coaches. They're there. They know more about it than what we do. And sometimes we think we're smart. Well, they're a lot smarter than we are. They know what they've done, and they've gotten the best out of this Cardinals team. San Diego, Randy Vasquez looked like he had a real situation last year where he pitched much better than he had in the past, and he looked that good in the spring too. But since he's been in the regular season, it's somewhat of a disappointment. I guess if you were a typical Randy Vasquez owner or a fan, you would say, that's typical Randy Vasquez. But I think we were expecting a little bit more from him this year. The line has been hit pretty hard on San Diego here. They've been bet up pretty well from the overnight. I kind of like San Diego, but I think we have lost any value that we had. I don't want to lay 140 against the St. Louis team who finds ways to win. So it's a tough handicap for me. So I'm probably going to pass on it. Both bullpens, we know San Diego's bullpen is very good, but St. Louis's bullpen has been good too, and they are both set up very well. So if we get the kind of game I think we may get, the under may be something to look at. That's 8 pretty much across the board, minus 115 maybe to the under. But something to that effect, but I don't know if I'm going to get involved myself.
Yeah, like I like the Padres here, but like here's sort of my thought process. And this will be my thought process just in general when I look at handicapping games and trying to find a spot to jump in. Is this the spot to jump in with a team that I've maybe had my eye on that I haven't so far yet? So if you go back to Thursday night, this was one of our feature games on the show. It was a big national TV game. We talked about it, and I said, well, if I was trying to pick a winner here, I would like the Padres, but the line was insane. And so, we had the conversation on the show. We both kind of landed on the Cardinals being the value in that game, and it worked out for the Cardinals. They won the game 2-1. Kind of the same thing last night. Now, I don't think we talked about this game on yesterday's show. I can't remember. I don't think we did. But it was the same thing. It was, again, I felt like the matchup and the just trying to pick a winner set up good for the Padres, but the price was out of whack again, and the Cardinals come out and win. So I'd love to find a spot. I don't think the Cardinals are going to go to San Diego and sweep this series. So we're now in game 3 of 4, right? So if I feel strongly about that I think San Diego is going to win at least one of these games, well, it's either got to be tonight or tomorrow. There's only 2 games left in the series. Bryan, my problem is after 2 Cardinals wins, I'm still being asked to lay this price. That's what I have a problem with. I like the Padres. I think Vasquez is someone that I've given a hard time over the years, but you know what? The Yankees liked him, and they, if you remember, they didn't, it's not like they just gave him away. He was part of the Juan Soto trade. So like he was a pretty big part of that deal, right? Like they were obviously going to give up whatever they needed to give up to get Soto. That was that was just, if it had to be Randy Vasquez, it didn't matter. He was one of the people in that deal. He throws 8 different pitches, 7 or 8 different pitches. He doesn't throw a single pitch more than 30% of the time. So he's always had this like big time pitch mix. And I always felt like if they could hone in on maybe get that down to like 4 really good pitches, that he could be very good. His chase rate is top 25% in the league. That's pretty good. But the problem is for me, not one of those pitches is great, right? He spots his fastball okay. Like fastball location is pretty good, but it's not like, he's probably throwing 93, 94. It's not like he's got this big fastball. He will get like barreled up. Like he does give up some hard contact. So I look at him on one hand and I say, this guy could get crushed, right? It's almost like at times you feel like he should get crushed, but then it's like every single game you look, it's the 6th inning. He's still out there. He's given up like 2 runs and his team's in the game. And I think if he can do that here, the Padres likely win. I just don't know that I want to pay this price. It's been my problem with this whole series to this point.
Yeah, I agree. My one of the stats I use, companies I use, has for quality starts. I got Vasquez a 43% chance and May only 23, which would point towards the higher line in this game. Problem is, I don't know what we're going to get out of May, and I know TB always says he doesn't like the question marks and the unknowns. When you're looking at Dustin May, that's what you've been getting this year. You really don't know if it's a good start or a bad start. And after the game, maybe it's a live betting situation where if he comes out and it looks like he's got his stuff, then maybe St. Louis live is the way to go. But that's we like consistency from a betting standpoint. We don't like consistency because we want to be able to take advantage of guys that are very consistent, but not at this price. So let's just say that if I'm playing, I'm waiting until the game starts to see what he's got.
Listen, no question. If you get into the later innings of this game, the Padres are going to probably have the edge. I mean, their bullpen with the top guys, they should have the edge. So for me, I think if you gave me like 10 more cents, it's like minus 140-ish right now. You got this down to like minus 125, minus 130, which could happen. I mean, if the Cardinals take any sort of respected money, it would get knocked probably into that range. I might be down. I would say minus 130 would be my like sort of price point where I would consider buying it. But I do lean to the Padres, and I will, just for the sake of making a pick for the show, that is the way I would go in that game. All right, let's go to Mike S. We've got the super chat. They come in starred. I believe what that is if you're subscribed to the channel for like $2.99 a month on the YouTube channel, I think your chat gets prioritized. So you can subscribe to the channel as well, and then there's like an extra tier, and that is what I believe gets starred and comes through. So let's bring up Mike S. and we'll talk about his game. He says Mariners White Sox seems like a big price with Castillo on the road, who has been bad. I told you the other day, Brian, I said Bryce Miller's going to take his spot in the rotation. I don't think anyone else is going anywhere. He's a guy like at this point, Luis Castillo, I thought held on for years to like trying to, just almost like overachieving. It was like pretty clear like 2 or 3 years ago that he wasn't like this same dominant guy that he was during the prime of his career. Of course, he had those great seasons with the Cincinnati Reds. But he's kind of overachieved like the last couple of years, certainly during his time in Seattle. I've always wondered, I said in my head, I'm like, there's going to come a time where it's going to be a pretty clear fade. Like he's going to be a pretty clear fade. Like you could kind of see it coming. So in your opinion, is that time now? And would you go the underdog price? It looks like Mike kind of wants to go to the underdog here.
Castillo is the road favorite, is about a 130 favorite here against K, the lefty going for the White Sox. Total is 9.5 to the under, minus 120. I agree. I think we even talked last time that may be the last time we see him in the starting lineup. There's been talk, I don't understand it, that they will drop either Castillo or Hancock to the bullpen. Why do you drop Hancock? There's fans of Seattle saying
that'd be crazy.
They said if Hancock goes to the bullpen, I'm selling my season tickets because it's such a dumb move. I agree, but obviously Hancock has got more experience in the bullpen, but you don't want to do that. Besides, you don't, as many times as these guys get hurt that they bring up, they don't know how long that's going to happen. So maybe they go to a 6-man. I don't know what they're going to do at this point. But yeah, Castillo's not a guy I'm looking to back. In the last 14 days, he's ranked 162 in pitching, and on the season 163. So he's by far their worst starting pitcher on the year. So there's got to be ways to come out and find him here. We also are getting a lefty on the mound here for Chicago, and Seattle on the season is only an 82 on the WRC plus versus lefties compared to 111. So I see a lot of reasons to look at the White Sox here. Kay is a guy very similar to what we just talked about with May. He's up and down. I like him. I think he at this point, from a starting pitcher standpoint, it's pretty equal with Castillo, and you're getting him for the full game in the 115 and 120 range. Let's take a look at the first 5 here, just to see what they've done. Yeah, if you want K in the first 5, you're looking at basically plus 100, something to that range. So that may be the way to go here. Is I prefer the Seattle bullpen to Chicago's bullpen, and Seattle did get back Brandon Donovan yesterday. Raleigh's been back for 3 days, but he's still struggling to hit. But most of the other team, they've got some guys that have been really hot. Obviously, Naylor's been really hot. Rodriguez hot. Crawford and Rayleigh. So they've got some guys that are heating up a little bit. But it's tough to go against Chicago. This is a team I seem to find value on a lot. And, they've been a team that's been very consistent 1 through 9 if hitting. They're much more consistent than Seattle has been. But you've got Anthony Kay on the mound, and he has not been – his numbers doesn't show that he's that great. He's a 138 the last 14 days, 192 on the season, which is one of the worst. But I like him a little bit better than what he has shown so far. Dominguez did pitch yesterday through 14 pitches, but he had the last 5 days off. The bullpen's looking good. Grant Taylor's the best arm in that bullpen. He pitched 20 pitches on Wednesday, and that's the last time he's been used. He only been used once in the last week. So I like the Chicago bullpen here, and it may be worth playing Chicago. I wouldn't have any problem with them playing in the game at 115 in range or in the first half at even money. So it's that's the way I would play it if I was to play this game.
Real quick, David. So the whole concept between putting Hancock to the bullpen, which I don't agree with, but it's like I think Seattle's just looking at the makeup of their team right now, and like he would be the better leverage option. That's the only way that they could justify keeping Castillo in the rotation and putting Hancock in the bullpen. It's like Castillo's stuff doesn't play into like a leverage role. So if you put Luis Castillo in the bullpen, he's just going to be a mop-up guy. He's just a long reliever. You put Hancock in the bullpen. Last year when they put him in the bullpen, he was throwing 99, right? Like he was throwing seeds. Like you could theoretically, if you put him in the bullpen, he might be your 7th, 8th, like big time leverage guy down there. And that's the only reason they do that. But I don't think they will, because I don't think he wants to be a bullpen guy. He's never been a bullpen guy through his entire career. I think he did it last year because it was his shot at making the postseason roster. Now he's striking out 14 guys in the start. I think Emerson Hancock's gonna be like, yo, wait a minute. Like I'm racking up strikeouts. I should be in the rotation. So just an interesting talking point there. As far as this game is concerned, Bryan, I'm with you. Taylor, the White Sox have really liked to pair these two together. So they were using Grant Taylor as an opener for Anthony Kay for a while. If they don't use as an opener, that's fine, but it means he's probably going to come in after Kay, or they might try to massage it, maneuver it, and maybe get Taylor out there for like the 7th and the 8th. I could get down with that. Because, like, here's the thing. Anthony Kay, I liked him coming into this year. He hasn't been good as good as I thought he was going to be. But, like, if he can match Castillo here, and that you're going to probably get an inning or two of Grant Taylor, I actually think that kind of sets up a little bit better than Castillo and what the Mariners are going to do. So I will take the White Sox here. That plus 1.5 is a little more expensive than I would like, but this is another one where if Chicago was suddenly, getting that plus 1.5 or 10 cents cheaper, I'd be really interested in that. At plus 120, I'll agree with someone else in the chat. I lost the comment, but they said not quite enough value on the White Sox. Yeah, I wanted a little bit more value on the money line, but it's still definitely worth a look. I think the White Sox probably are the play. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to point out in the Seattle bullpen right now, Matt Brash and Gabe Spire, two of their better arms, are dealing with inflammation. They're not on the roster right now. So you are getting a little bit less of the depth as you normally would, but Ferrara's been very good, Bastardo, Criswell. So you got plenty of good arms in this bullpen. There's not a shortage of good arms in the Seattle bullpen.
Oh, I'm over here shouting out Andy Lang. I'm muted. I said Andy Lang's in the chat. We just wanted to say what up to him. He's talking about paper trading and live betting and making money. So that's like what he does. So whatever the hell he's talking about, you should be, whether it's darts or like UFC or whatever, you should probably bet on it. People are loving, I know Bryan, Leonard does not like this, but people are loving the Toledo hoodie today, Bryan. I know that's not your, that's not your jam. You're a rival school to this, but they like the I'll just try to lean in. They like the Toledo Rockets hoodie, which I did get at the Savage Arena earlier this year. So
I dated a girl that went to college at Toledo at the time, so I'm very familiar with that college, and I root for all the teams in the MAC, to be totally honest with you. I think it's an underrated conference.
Well, now you get to root for Sacramento State. So, I
don't know how the hell that ever happened. Why even bother having conferences anymore?
I know we said we'd probably avoid this one, but we are getting questions about this specific game, including Andy, who has now asked twice. So we will talk about it. This one might get affected by rain. There's a couple that are on the, sort of watch for weather today. But Andy wants to talk about Tanner Bybee getting no run support. I want to talk about Joe Ryan being back. This was a little sooner than I thought he was going to be back. This is like the second time, I think, this year that he's kind of come back after being hurt. So that's never a good thing. So, I mean, listen, this one might get washed away, but if it gets played, do you have a lean with your Guardians against the visiting Twins?
First off, I appreciate Andy always checking in on the site and always watching the show. But if you want your questions answered, Andy, you're going to have to put us on the show. They don't have too many baseball guys on the show that he does. So anyway, there's two games that are probably going to be rained out, and that's Boston and Cleveland. I know they're going to have rain problems all day long. I'm surprised I got that Cleveland game in yesterday. It rained the entire time. And so the field is, they take good care of the fields, but if it's raining 2 days straight, solid rain, that's always a concern, especially for the health of the players.
So I will say this quick. This one looks like it's getting in. So there is no rain from 1 p.m. until 10 p.m. I do think they probably sneak this one in.
Okay. All right. Well, it's changed since the last time I looked then. Okay. Bobby, we talked about last time how well he had done against divisional rivals in the past. I believe he was like 17-2. Well, he lost to Kansas City one bad inning. He was cruising around the first 3 innings. I believe he didn't even have a hit. He looked really good, and then in the 4th inning, he fell apart, and that's been Tanner Bybee. The last few years is the consistency's just not been there. When he's on, and anything can set him off. A lot of times you see it when the defense makes an error, it upsets the pitcher. I don't know if that's the case here, but the advantages he's had in the past may not be there any longer. And I will say, Cleveland has had Minnesota's number at home. They've been very good against Minnesota over the years, but Joe Ryan is the better pitcher here if he's healthy. And for them to bring him back this quick, I think in his mind, he wants to be out there. The last thing he wants to do is pitch when he's hurt for a team that's probably not going to make the playoffs. So I would expect a good effort out of Ryan here against Cleveland. We got another good pitching staff out of both those guys yesterday, although the runs were more than what they should have been. But overall, I think good starting pitching yesterday, which sets them up pretty good spot today. From a bullpen standpoint, I do like the Cleveland bullpen a little bit better. And that's where the advantage would be. So if I'm playing Minnesota, I am probably playing them in the first half. And we're looking at Minnesota about a 115 favorite in the first half, whereas opposed to the full game, you're looking at Minnesota is probably about a 105, maybe 100 dog. So you're paying a little bit more for Minnesota with Ryan, but I like Ryan over Bybee in the first 5 here.
And he's saying, we only get an hour 6 days a week. Like we get plenty of airtime. So you're probably more than anything
I
else.
know. But they say that's the main show on the site with all the production. So, hey, we like to get on there.
Yeah. They offered some production, but I was like, well, we just go off of what the chat asks. So we have no clue the games we're going to talk about. So they're like, well, we can't really give you graphics if you have no idea what you're going to talk about during the show. And I said, you know what? The chat likes it better that way. They don't want a scripted show. They want to come in and ask what they want to ask, get the games answered. Just go back to Joe Ryan for a second. Like it makes sense for Joe Ryan to want to pitch, and it makes sense for the Twins to want Joe Ryan to pitch for a couple of reasons. One, I think Joe Ryan would like to probably pitch his way to a different team at some point this year. If you remember, Joe Ryan was all but traded last year during the deadline. They straight up just ran out of time. And the Twins, because they had traded literally the rest of their team by this point, were not just going to hand Joe Ryan to the Red Sox like the Red Sox wanted them to. So basically you had Red Sox holding their ground, Twins holding their ground, and the time ran out. They just ran out of time. If the Twins somehow are magically in the mix, then they're going to want to have Joe Ryan because he's their ace. If they're not, they're going to want him pitching so that they can trade him. So, and of course, if Joe Ryan wants to play for a contender, he needs to be pitching and pitching well so he can get traded. So it was an elbow. It was a sore elbow. Joe Ryan says he's good. I don't think the Twins are going to argue with him. And I kind of don't think he's going to put himself into harm's way. If he didn't feel like he was good, he's probably not pitching here. No question, when he's like 100%, he's definitely the better option. The Twins, they're kind of hanging in there. I know they lost those last 2 games to the Nationals. I do think that this team probably continues to just fade into oblivion. I just don't know that they have the players. Like, I know, go back to the beginning of the year, I talked about the Twins and thinking they had upside, but like the problem is it looks like, and you were right about this, Bryan, they're not going to call up any of those youngsters, the Kalen Culpeppers, the Walker Jenkins, the Gabriel Gonzalez, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Ben Ross. They got a plenty of good players down at AAA. But you're kind of right. I think you're right. I don't think any of these guys are getting called up until the Twins are well out of it. And so right now, just on a day-to-day basis, no bullpen, very difficult to play the Twins. That being said, if you think you're going to get a good outing from Joe Ryan here, this might actually be one spot where you could take a shot with them as a small underdog. He's probably going to give you 6, and then you just got to pray that whoever comes out there for the final 3 innings doesn't get blown up, which is, I guess, something that you absolutely have to acknowledge could happen with this Twins team. All right, let's continue. Let's move it on. Someone in the chat says they're a Ball State guy. That's Muncie, Indiana, the Ball State Cardinals. That's one of the few MAC venues I've not been to yet. Maybe next year. They haven't been very good though. I try to hit these schools when they're good. Ball State has not been very good. I think they fired their coach though, so who knows? Maybe down the road we'll get out to Muncie, Indiana for a game. All right, Jason Lambert says he took Ohtani for a homer today. This is, I guess, a game that we should discuss since it's not the national TV feature, but it's certainly the biggest game of the day. The NLCS preview, I called it the other day, Bryan. So let's head back out to Chavez Ravine. It's a couple of guys that recently came off the IL. I was trying to look at this game from a pitching standpoint and finding myself having a hard time with either of these guys. So with that being said, would you have a hard time laying this number with a guy in Blake Snell who just came back recently?
Yes, I would. Snell, the lefty against Atlanta with Strider. If Strider and Snell both come up at the same time, both today, this line isn't there, is it? I can't see it. It's not. Strider came up and he didn't pitch well, and that's why we're getting this number right now. If he comes up now as opposed to last week, we're looking at something in the 140 range as opposed to the 165, 170 range. I'm even seeing a 180 out there at one of the offshores. So, yeah, I don't want the Dodgers in this price range. I prefer to play Atlanta. And the problem is, do I want to with Strider? So maybe let me take a look at the team totals here. We're looking at Atlanta's team total at 3.5 over -120. I think that may be the way to go. I think Atlanta still gets to Snell a little bit. You take a look at what Atlanta's done on the season, not quite as well against lefties as righties. They're at 116 WRC plus as opposed to 121. And obviously they don't have their best hitter at this point. But this is still a team that's very good. They've got their backup catcher back, so that gives him an extra bat, although he hasn't hit very well the last few years. He's still better than a lot of backup catchers in Major League Baseball. Yeah, if I'm playing, I'm probably taking Atlanta. And if you're looking at the bullpen right now, with the closer back and the eighth inning guy there, fresh, they're better at the back end than the Dodgers are right now. I know the Dodgers spent a lot of money on their bullpen, but Atlanta's bullpen, when people are healthy, I think they're just as good, if not better. So the only thing you're looking at here is can Strider stick with Snell? We'll see how it goes. So maybe Atlanta team total over, Atlanta first 5. I wouldn't even have a problem with Atlanta in the full game here. In the full game, you can catch uppers of 160, although there's some 140s out there. Make sure to shop around. But I like Blake Snell a lot, but pitching in the minor leagues and doing your rehabilitation is a lot different than facing major leaguers, especially what could be the best hitting team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, let's compare rehab stints real quick. Blake Snell, very, very easy, sort of mild, 2 outings at single A, and then 4 innings against a very bad Round Rock lineup. One of the worst lineups right now in all of AAA per my sort of rating. So he only made 1 start at AAA, 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, gave up a bomb against one of the worst AAA lineups that you got going right now. Strider had a couple of starts, and he actually looked really good at AAA. Now, I was on the wrong end of the Rockies last week in the game Spencer Strider started, and I watched the entire game, watched some of the post game, and they kind of, the Braves they kind of kept alluding on the broadcast to why did you even throw Strider here, right? It's a Sunday in Coors Field. Like, they could have just bumped him one day and saved him from having to pitch in the altitude. And the answer that was given was, we just wanted him to get out there and throw, right? Like, it was like almost like we're the Braves. We're 24 at the time. I think there were 24 or 25 and 10. And it was just like, we don't care if he doesn't throw it well. We just want him to get his reps in. It's the day he's supposed to throw. And we just want him to go out there and throw. So I don't really put too much stock into the fact that he didn't throw it great in the altitude on a Sunday afternoon. It was like, you kind of watched his body language. It just was not the best. I don't know that he really wanted to be pitching in the altitude, right? Like, he looked annoyed. If you watched his body language that whole start, he couldn't locate. He was having a hard time. You talked about the wind resistance and like getting up, some of your pitches are going to feel different when you're pitching at Coors. They're not going to do as much. And that's what he just looked like, pissed off that he couldn't hit the zone with certain pitches. Now, he didn't have that problem when he was pitching in AAA, not in Coors Field. So I'm almost going to throw that out. Like, I'm willing to just throw that start out for Strider. And if he looks more, now granted, he's got to go up against the Dodgers lineup here, which is a much more difficult. But if he throws the ball like he did during his AAA rehab, he's going to, like, he looked fine. He was striking guys out, hitting the zone, no problem. Blake Snell, like, this will be his first action in the majors in 2026. The only thing we have to go off of here is 4 innings at AAA, because it's like, I'm not going to really put much stock into like what he did against 18-year-old kids in A-ball. Who cares, right? So based on all of that, the Dodgers should not be this big of a favorite against what I consider, like, right now, Dodgers and Braves are 1A and 1B in the National League. With the pitching as it is here, there is no way the Braves should be this big of an underdog in this game. So lean Braves for sure.
Yeah. Snell was supposed to pitch in single A today, and they were all excited. I got an advertisement from, I forgot what ballpark it was in, but they said, hey, come out and see Blake Snell today. And then half an hour later, they go, never mind, he's been called up to the Dodgers. So it cost that minor league team some ticket sales. But yeah, I agree. These guys, when they come out to pitch, they've got to be focused, and he didn't want to pitch there. And it's in Colorado. The reason why they did it, probably because it was in Colorado, and they know they could score a lot of runs for him. Dodger Stadium, it's obviously with a total of 8.5, it's a little bit different here. But this series is very important to both these teams, and it could come down to the end of the season. I know home advantage in baseball doesn't mean like it does in some other sports, but still, if you've got the better record, and that's why the Dodgers don't really care about winning the division. It doesn't matter to them. They want to set up their team to be healthy at the end of the year. But if the records come down to it, Atlanta would prefer to have home field advantage over the Dodgers. So they'll come out. This is gonna be like a playoff game for both teams, I believe.
I believe he was pitching for the Tower Buzzers, which is apparently the Ontario Tower Buzzers. Is that California somewhere? Is that Ontario, California? Yes. Yeah, they were actually on the road against the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, and I had a good friend of mine lived in Rancho for years and years. I've actually been there a couple times. So I think their ballpark is called the Epicenter, I believe, if I remember correctly, which is an awesome ballpark name. I'll have to get back out there someday. But I was there probably 15 years ago. So that's just A ball out, and there's a league. I think that whole California's got a bunch of single A teams. Like every single A team is in like California or Florida, pretty much.
That's because of the weather. Yep.
Yep. All right. We hit the parlay yesterday, Brian. We hit the parlay again. It put us in. We are now up right around just a shade under 5 units on the year. This is with TB coming back on Monday. They're going to be harder to hit going forward since we'll be 3-teamer. So we've got, we're starting to get toward the end of the show. Do you have a game you want to go to for your parlay leg here?
Yeah, I do. And it's a team I've been fading for the most part, but I think the line is just too high here. Trey Savage is going for Toronto against Kashanowitz for the Angels. Kashanowitz is, I'm amazed at how well he's been doing, but he continues to come out there and he's an innings eater for this team. And he's pitching very well for a team that definitely needs starting pitching. Savage coming back from injury looked very good. And it was similar to like what I was talking about Snell and Strider in the previous game. If this is Savage's first game back, we're not going to see these lines. But he looked really good in his first game back. But he's a guy that is coming back from injuries. He's always had injury problems. This line has been steadily bet up all day long. I am seeing as high as 190 at MGM Grand on this game. Obviously, if you're going to play Toronto, don't play that there because I'm seeing as low in some other places, respected places, as 166. So that tells you that there's some sharps on the Angels here, and I'm with them. I like the situation, and we're getting big numbers everywhere. As I said, anywhere from 145 to 165 range. I see a lot of 155s out there. So, yeah, I'm going to play the Angels plus the 155. Toronto is a team, when they're hot offensively, I look to back them. But if they're struggling in any way, I would rather take a very similar team, a hitting team in the Angels. And we're getting a pitching situation here where I think is overblown because of how good Savage has looked. And Kashanowitz, right now, from a pitching standpoint, I don't have them that far apart. So, yeah, give me the Angels plus 155 here, and that'll be my part of the parlay.
Yeah, the Blue Jays, credit to the Blue Jays, like they've been able to weather the storm a little bit. If you go back a couple weeks, Cody Ponce injury, Kirk goes down, Barger goes down, all of ththese injuries right around the same time. And then you factor in stuff like, Barrios was hurt, Bassett's on another team, Bo Bichette's on a different team. Like all of that, like I was pretty adamant about fading the Blue Jays, go back like 3 weeks. I haven't done it as much because I don't know. I just feel like I keep not finding the right spot to do it. And to their credit, they've really been able to weather the storm. They are 4 games under 500. And this is about where they were when some of those injuries started to happen, right? So it's like they've been able to play 500 ball with a watered down roster. What I take from that is, well, when this team starts to get healthy down the line, when they get some of these guys back, they might actually be a team that you want to start backing. But we're not there yet. We're still not there yet. This is still a team that I just don't think justifies the price tag in a lot of cases. And I'm with you. I still want to play against the Blue Jays. They're still getting priced as a team that went to the World Series last year. And right now they're just straight up not that team. So yeah, Savage is also a guy that I kind of think is going to get hit at some point. He see, this is where you got to, take rehab with a grain of salt. He looked awful in his AAA starts. And now all of a sudden he's like been great at the big league level. Go figure.
Yeah, this is very similar to Andrew Painter. If you saw him pitch yesterday, you'd wonder how the hell did this guy make it back to the lineup? Yeah, the young people who don't have a lot of experience in the majors and have great talent come back from injuries. They can go both ways, and it seems to be people recognize that name and they want to back that guy because he's highly hyped. And I think that's the situation we've got with the Savage here. So if you wonder what happened to Philadelphia with Painter yesterday, well, knock on wood, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I hope it works out that same way with your Savage here.
Got to call this out. He said, someone says parlays keep losing because Bryan keeps giving out these big dogs that don't cash. So back-to-back days, the parlay has won. 2 days ago, Bryan gave out the Rockies plus 130 in the parlay. That won. And yesterday, we had the over in the Astros-Reds game, which won. And then the Red Sox, which actually became a 4% client play for me, which also won. So to date, the parlay, 4.92 units. So if you were to use your unit would be $1 or whatever it is. You'd be up 4.92 of those if you played them all equally. So I just have to call that out. That's not really an accurate comment right there.
Yeah,
the parlay's been pretty good.
Edward, I just want to say, if you're not willing to play underdogs in baseball, don't bet baseball.
Yeah, just don't bet baseball. It's,
don't bet if you don't want to play it. Yeah. We've talked about other games that were favorites that we lead to. Use one of those. I mean,
it's you really want to be careful. Like I was mad at myself before I ended up on 2 games yesterday, and I'm like, it was the Red Sox and the Mets, and I'm like, you're really asking for it by laying minus 130 in both of these games. Now, it worked out for me, but don't get I was absolutely conscious about doing that, right? And it's like, yeah, more often than not, you want to be in that minus 110 range, minus 105, plus 105. Like that's something, for me, like where I'm at this year, 20, I've battled back a little bit, but I'm still like 500 on the baseball season. Yeah, I'm down more units than I probably should be because I've laid a little bit too much juice. And it is the never ending battle where you get a team, you really like this side. Oh, now they're minus 128. Do you still want to bet them? You'd love them at minus 110. That 15 to 20 cents can matter. And it's like probably the toughest part about doing this every single day, 6 months for the course of the season. Go ahead, Bryan.
If you like playing favorites and you've only watched this week, keep in mind Tokyo Brandon will be back on Monday. He's the guy that plays your $2, $3 favorites. You could follow him, and he will even admit that his free play, he counts as a free play if it's $200, $300. They have not done well, and he'll even come out and admit that. So you're in a rock and a hard place if you're playing favorites.
And just to be honest, like it's not that it can't be done, but you have to hit at a very, very high clip to make money playing like the big favorites in baseball if you're going to do it regularly.
Yeah.
So just, but hey, there's so many different ways to do this. Like I know people that make a ton of money betting Major League Baseball that are insanely selective. And a lot of their bets are these $2 favorites when they think it's like they should be like a $4 favorite.
And sometimes it is, and sometimes there's value there, but you've got to realize it's not a guarantee. You look at an NBA game and the line's 4, and all of a sudden you get like a $2 favorite, and then if they lose, you don't pay any attention to it. But it's still, because money lines aren't used as much in football and basketball as a lot of people think.
All right. Don't worry. Someone's like, we owe you guys a few minutes. We got you. I said we were going longer today. That was, we couldn't really get the links on the right link. So I am going to go to a different game for the parlay here. I will I think I'm going to offset some of the value you're giving us on this parlay. But I'm gonna use a slight favorite. This is one great example. I would like this game if it would come into range, but like these are, this is a good example of like it's just slightly out of range of where I would want for like an actual client play. That's going to be the Cubs. Now, the Rangers are starting to take a little money, so this could change as the day goes on. Right now, Cubs, Bryan, what am I looking at? Minus 130, minus 135?
Yeah, I'm seeing anywhere from 28 to 40, 35, 30, a lot of 35s out there.
So we'll call it minus 135. Like if the Rangers get hit, which is very possible, and knock this down, then I might come back and play the Cubs. It's kind of what I did with the Mets yesterday. Once the Diamondbacks took enough money and got that into that minus 125, minus 130 range, I was able to make a play. I think it's really just holding yourself accountable and having like a price point in mind where it's like, if it doesn't get to this, I'm straight up just not going to play it. That's kind of how I look at this here, because I really like the Cubs tonight. Jack Leiter is a guy that I've talked about for a while, maybe being that I think he's been really overvalued by the betting markets since he's gotten into the big leagues. I think it started with where he got drafted. I always thought he got drafted a little higher than he should have. I think having that name maybe got him drafted a little higher than he should have. And since he's been at the big leagues, listen, this is a guy that pitched really well in the minors. And it's like, it's a tale as old as time. It was part of the reason that I bet against the Diamondbacks last night and Ryan Nelson, because you have guys that will have a great minor league careers with a big fastball. And when you get to the majors, if you do not have another pitch that is as good as your big fastball, you cannot have success as a starter in Major League Baseball. It is very rare that you can have success as a starter in Major League Baseball with just a fastball and no really dominant, like at least second pitch. It's hard to do it with two pitches, right? Like it's hard to do it with two pitches. You used to need like 3 or 4 pitches to be like a legitimate big league starter. Some guys get away with 2 if they're really good, but you're not going to get away with 1. That's the problem Ryan Nelson's having with the Diamondbacks. He throws his fastball 70% of the time and has no other pitch that anyone respects even a little bit. I think that's what's happening a little bit with Jack Leiter when he gets to the big league level. In AAA, he can get away with it because, of course, you can if you can dot 97 in AAA, you're going to be able to get outs. At the big league level, that doesn't work. You're going to be able to get some outs, but eventually, if your location isn't spot on, or big league hitters force you to come into the zone a little bit, or big league hitters are waiting for what you're going to throw, or what I think they're doing to guys like Nelson and Leiter, and this is like what I think the mental approach is across Major League Baseball. They're just going to let you throw your fastball, and then they're going to sit on your off-speed pitch because it's easier to, if you are sitting off-speed, it's easier to like basically identify it and then hit it somewhere. And I think that's what's happening to Nelson, and I think that's it was happening to Brandon Pfaadt for a while, right? Because he could only throw a fastball, and all of a sudden he had an ERA of 6 for a stretch, and that's what I think is happening to Leiter. He's got a great fastball. The secondary stuff is not big league ready yet. It never has been. Every time he gets called up to the big leagues, for the most part, this starts to happen. He did finish stronger last year. Okay, I thought maybe he was ready to turn a corner. I don't really think that's been the case. Last time out against the Tigers, 5 runs. He's working deeper into games. So, he's got, you look 10 strikeouts against the Tigers. That's really impressive. Pitched into the 7th inning. That's impressive, but you still gave up 5 runs. Right? You still gave up 5 runs. Start before that. Well, he goes 6 against the Yankees, still gave up 4 runs, 8 hits. Start before that. Still gave up 4 runs to the Pirates. It's like at some point, the Dodgers, teams that can hit, the Dodgers, 3 2/3. He was out in the 4th inning, 5 runs. The Cubs are having great at-bats 1-9. Tell me how the Cubs aren't getting to a guy like Leiter, and I've liked Edward Cabrera, and they've got some bullpen guys back. So give me the Cubs for the parlay. And if you want to throw, like, before we sign off here, Bryan, if you have opinions on that game, jump in. Cubs and Rangers.
I don't. I like Leiter a little bit more than you do, but I fully understand your reasoning. My question is, On a different game, I know we got to get out of here. Why are the Pirates the road favorite in San Francisco?
I mean, when I look at that, just real quick, because I know they're gonna get mad if we're not off before last call, but real quick, like Ashcraft had one bad start, and it was when he was like had missed time for like bereavement. So if you throw that one out, he's been really good. Um, you know, Landon Roop, he's been inconsistent, I would say, but like when he's on, he's on. So I know you like Landon Roop. I guess that's for me. I've got the Pirates rated higher than the Giants. Like I just like them better as a team, but I can see where you're coming from with the Giants right there.
Yeah, I expected the Giants to be a 120, and we're able to get like 110 back. Leaning with the Giants there, but yeah, I understand it should be a pick 'em or so, and I do like Ashcraft, but Pittsburgh to me doesn't score enough to be a road favorite in this situation, and I do like Roop. So we'll see what happens. They did their closer, the new closer, did have to pay 35 pitches yesterday for San Francisco, but they don't know who their closer is. They don't have a guy good enough to be a closer.
And just one more thing to just, I guess, drive the lighter point home. Like his breaking and off speed pitching run value on Savant, bottom 10% of the league, barrel rate, bottom 10% of the league. So it's like, but again, if you can't hit his fastball, he's going to probably go out and throw 7 scoreless with like 11 strikeouts. But I think the Cubs can. I've loved the way they have at bats 1 through 9. So that's to hammer that one home. That'll be the show. Sorry, we were a little late this morning. I think we made up for it. We went way over, probably about to get yelled at by the last call, folks. So we got to get out of here. Our parlay of the day, Angels plus 155. I'm going to go with Cubs minus 135. And I've got a 5%er that goes a little bit later today. I'm on a good run in Major League Baseball, so check that out. You can get all of our plays on the double play package. That's all the baseball between myself and Bryan. Bryan, real quick, do you have any other plays up on the site for today?
It's still early out here in Vegas. I'll be putting the plays up very shortly.
So keep an eye on Bryan's page. He's been, chipping away in the NHL and NBA playoffs, so keep an eye out for that. We will be back Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. So let's cash some tickets. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone, and stay around for 4 minutes. You only got to wait for 4 minutes now. Last call goes at the top of the hour. We'll see you guys Monday.